Hello, everyone, and welcome back. If you joined me for part one of this two-part series on batch basics, this next part we're going to finish up the process, pick up where we left off last time. We synced our product feeds, and we're about to create some shipments. So let's dive right into it. All right. So I took us back just one step just so we could see the full process here. So at this point, we have added all of our items to our batch. You'll likely have way more than just the one item here, but this is just for the demo. We're going to go through the review batch process. Everything looks good. And then here we're going to submit. Now again, recap, this is where the magic happens. So automatically your product feeds are going to get sent to Amazon. That's the whole purpose of creating a batch, listing your items, is to get your product feeds over to Amazon so you can either create shipments with InventoryLab or create shipments in Seller Central. So if you prefer to only create your shipments in Seller Central, you would uncheck this box that is automatically checked for you. That way, just your product feeds get sent over to Amazon. Today, we're going to take a look at the shipment creation process, so I'm going to leave that checked here. So once you sync, all of your product feeds are on the way over to Amazon, and now you're brought up to step 3, proposed FBA shipments. Now, this part in the batch process is the only time you're going to notice that you are timed. So if you see here, right by the status, there is a plan, expiration, and a timer ticking down. This is because Amazon only allows proposed shipments to remain for 48 hours. So if you plan to create your shipments, you must do so within the time limit. Batches can remain open for an indefinite amount of time unless you're on this screen. Once you're on this screen, you only have until this plan expires. If you don't create any shipments, you'll have to re-request proposed shipping plans, and then the timer starts back up to 48 hours once again. So one of the most important things to know is that Amazon requires that if you create one shipment from a proposed shipping plan, so in this case, we only have one shipment, but there may be times where you create multiple shipments from a single batch. I mentioned that in part one, but just to reiterate, one batch can either have one or multiple shipments, or you may never create shipments. They're completely separate. So for example, if we had multiple shipment destinations, multiple shipments to create, Amazon requires that if you create one plan, you must create them all. So the timer is not going to stop until all shipments are created. That doesn't mean you necessarily have to get your shipments out within that time frame. That just means that you need to have all shipments created. So in this example, let's say we have 3 shipments to create. I know I'm going to eventually send all of them in. Go ahead and create all of them at one time. What you don't want to happen is you create one shipment out of 3, and then the timer expires. Let's say you already dropped that shipment off at the post office and you're just waiting to finish up the other 2. Once the timer expires, you'll have to re-request your shipments, which will scramble everything up again, may distribute your items into different shipment destinations, and that's a big headache. That's something that we don't want for you. So it's very important to remember, create your shipments all at one time, and then that way the timer stops and you have the luxury to finish your shipments whenever you get to it. If you have any questions about Amazon's shipping policy, click this hyperlink and it'll take you to some articles in Seller Central and you can review those at your leisure. All right, on the proposed shipment page, you can change the name of your proposed shipment. It's automatically going to default to whatever your batch name was, but you can change it to anything that you'd like. Your prep type is going to show here, your destination, quantity within, and clicking on it is going to show all of the items contained within that shipment. So we're going to create our shipment. So you click create, and then it gives you the option, are you sure? We're totally sure. Yes, create. So once your shipment's been created, you'll see the status no longer has that timer. So once all shipments have been created from your proposed plan, you're done. You can rest easy. You can finish up your shipments at your own time. You don't need to worry about the timer any longer. That's why if you know you're going to send in all of the shipments, go ahead and create them all. That way the timer is off your plate and you don't have to worry about it. Now I've got a shipment ID created. Again, clicking in here will bring up the contents of the shipment. Now, if you decided not to enter box contents, so your box content setting was turned off when you created the batch, this button here will be red and show complete and closed batch. This means the process is totally done for you. You'll do your box contents in Seller Central. But since we're doing a demo, we're going to have the enter box contents button turned on because that was our setting we chose when we first created the batch. So clicking that is going to bring us to the final step, step 4, box contents. If you had multiple shipments, that's where they would be displayed here. We just have the one, so you're just going to show the shipment ID right here. Now there are a couple of different ways to assign box contents, and I'll show you a couple of different tips. So first, you're automatically going to default to box 001. This is going to be the default no matter how many shipments you have. Each shipment is going to default with this box number here. Clicking the little hammer and wrench icon is going to bring up some box settings. So if there's nothing in the box, your settings are going to be limited to remove the box. Once you add items, I'll show you, more settings will open up. You can even click this little eye icon and it will display the estimated contents of the box, the weight, the total buy cost value, and total list price. So let's say we're probably going to need a couple of boxes. So the first way to assign your box contents, oh, all right, looks like we have a question so far. Do the box contents work with Amazon's new Send to Amazon workflow? Absolutely. So InventoryLab's workflow has not changed a bit since Send to Amazon has gone into place. You will still create your shipments, enter box contents, and send them just as you always have, and they'll get right over to Seller Central using the Send to Amazon workflow. All right, let's get to assigning some box contents. The first and probably easiest way is to just click the drop-down menu. So the drop-down menu is going to default to the last box that was created, which in this case was the first box that we had. And then the quantity in the box you can change. So I'm going to say let's say 5 items in one box. Now you can see that this box is green, indicating that it has some items in it. In this bottom left-hand corner here, you'll see total quantity left to assign is 20. So we still have 20 items left to assign because we got 5 in box number 1. Now that that's updated, clicking the little eye icon is going to show you the estimated weight based on these 5 items inside the box, total buy cost value, and total list price value. Now that we have items in here, clicking the little hammer and wrench icon will bring up some additional settings. At this point, you can create your packing list, you can remove the box, you can copy the box, or you can choose to show MSKU. So the show MSKU is just for this. So this is our item. Right now, the FNSKU is displayed. If we prefer to visually see the MSKU for the item, that's when we can show the MSKU and then that'll swap. And you can always change that back. The copy box is a great feature. If you know you're going to be packing a ton of the same boxes, use copy box and save yourself a bit of a headache. So copy box will duplicate this entire box over however many more boxes you want. So let's say I want 2 of the exact same box. Boom. Now I've got 3 of the exact same box, all with the exact same quantity within. And again, you can use the hammer and wrench to make any adjustments, remove a box, show the FNSKU or MSKU, depending. And within each box, you've got the estimated weight, total buy cost value, and total list price. So now we've got 10 left to assign. So we can either assign these over to one of our boxes that we have here, or we can make a new box. Let's do that. So I'm going to choose the plus new option and create one additional box. Great. So now this one's yellow, showing that the box is empty. And if I wanted to assign all of the remaining quantity that I have left to one box, here's an easy way to do it. Click the check box next to the item name and image here, and you'll see that the plus assigned to a box button is now activated. So click that, and then from the drop-down menu, choose the box option that you would like. So we'll assign all of the remaining quantity to box number 4. And boom, now I've got the final 10 assigned to box number 4. Done. So if you need to adjust the quantity of your items, let's say you needed to add a few more items or maybe remove some items, you can do that as well. So if you need to make any changes to your box, you can remove the box. So let's remove this one so we have some things to work with. And let's say we wanted to adjust our quantity. So let's say, oh no, I listed 25, but really I have 35. Oh, here's a quantity error. So whenever you're adjusting quantity of your items after a shipment's been created, you must abide to the 5% or 6 unit rule that Amazon has in place. So if you try to adjust the quantity either above or below that limitation, this error is going to pop up and let you know. So now you have a range of what you can adjust the quantity. So it must be between 19 and 31 items. So in this case, I'm going to stick with my 25 that we already assigned. Now, packing your boxes too can be done with a barcode scanner. So if you have either a Bluetooth scanner or a USB barcode scanner, you can plug that in, get it connected to your computer, click the start button, and now you can start scanning your items, which will assign them to the box that you're in. This is a super easy and efficient way to pack if you have a lot of items and you have that barcode scanner. So that's an option for you, or you can do it the old-fashioned manual way, just like we've been doing it. So let's get our box contents back assigned. So we're going to do it the quick way. Click the checkbox next to the item, assign to a box, choose box number 4, and assign. So there may be times when you have multiple shipments, as I mentioned. So if you only have time to get to 1 or 2 of your shipments, you can choose to transmit your box contents individually. So just one at a time. If you know you're not going to be able to get to all of them, instead of using the transmit all boxes, you can do one at a time. That way your box contents will be sent for that shipment in Seller Central. Now, since we only have the one box, we can use the transmit all boxes to Seller Central. So we'll do that now. Okay, now we've got this option here. So Inventory Lab allows you to add the box weight and dimensions for your boxes. You can choose to do this in Seller Central, which we're going to do that today. So we'll skip this step. But if you need to enter in your box contents, your weight and dimensions, you would do that here. If all boxes are the same, you can use this column here, which will pre-fill all of the boxes with the same information. See, 5s across the board. But we're going to skip it for now. So now you get this beautiful pop-up letting us know that our box contents have been sent. And now you'll notice that we have been moved over to closed batches. So once the batch process is complete, meaning you've gone through all of the steps, 1 through 4 if your box contents are on, or 1 through, I guess, 3 if no box contents. However many steps you do, it's again a customizable experience. Once your batch is completed, you'll automatically move over to closed batches. So here you can see some at-a-glance details like your list price, average cost per unit, and this is based on the different purchases that we entered in the first part. You can export your batch, restore it. You can even get an at a glance of the price information. So if you did minimum and maximum price preferences, that's where you'd view this information here. And if you ever need to reference your batch, they're going to be in list closed batches. Right here. If we ever need to take a look at that one, this is where it is. So back on the list and prep page, aha. All right, this is what I was waiting for. Once your box contents have been sent and accepted by Amazon, you're going to get this green success message. That's your cue that you are ready to go finish up your shipment in Seller Central because your box contents and products feeds have been accepted by Amazon. If, for example, you get a red message here, you would have some errors that you would need to adjust. And we're going to go over one of the most common error types just because it's bound to happen at some point. Let's see. Looks like we have a question in the chat. What does the expires area mean? Okay, so was that in the shipment creation process or is that back in the box content page. Oh, so if you had a product expiration date, and we can take a look at this too. If you had a product expiration date, that's where you would have the date listed for when the product expires. So let's say you needed to view or edit your box contents. You would do that from the working shipments. And anytime you see the 3 horizontal lines, that's an additional menu option. So click here. You can rename your batch. Box content information will pull up your box contents, and there are a few other options as well. So let's bring up our box contents. So if you're referring to this area here where it says expires, this is where an expiration date would display. So if you had an expiration dated inventory like a grocery item or medication or makeup, and it had to have a product expiration date, that's where it would be listed. All right. And this actually brings us to our next point. So, one of the most common errors that you may run into, especially if you're listing expiration dated inventory, is an expiration date error. So, there have been times you may just be boogieing through listing and completing your batch and you miss an item that has an expiration date. Don't panic. So, at that point, once you send your box contents, you're likely to get a red error message that'll pop up here. And in the error message, it's going to indicate which MSKU needs your attention. So if it's an expiration date, it will show that in the error message along with the MSKU that needs to be corrected. So to correct that, you would go here to your working shipment, click the 3 horizontal lines, go to box content information, and write in this area. So let's say this was something that needed an expiration date. This little NA, if you hover over it, it becomes a clickable option. Once you click on it, now we've got a calendar where we can enter in our expiration date. So enter in what you need, and then you will transmit your updated boxes to Seller Central. At that point, if all of the errors have been corrected, instead of getting the red error message on the side, you'd get the green one letting you know you've addressed all the errors and your box contents have been successfully sent and accepted in Seller Central. Let's see. Looks like we have a couple of other questions here. Can you change your default or will it always be your last batch? So there are a couple of default options for batches, like your box content. That can be a default setting. So that would be just a very quick detour. And we've got a little bit of time left, so we can go over some questions here. So under your settings, under list, actually, that would be, where is that one? So general, where's the box content setting? Ah, here we go. So it is under list, scroll down just a little bit. There's a toggle here for box contents. So if you prefer to have your box contents always default to on, toggle that. If you prefer to have your box contents always default to off, you will toggle that here. And you can change this at any time. And then you have the option to display the dollar value for your box contents. We also have a number of other settings that would affect your batch. The optimize your InventoryLab and Seller Central settings. That's a customer coaching course that we do offer that goes over a lot of these things too. So InventoryLab is really a customizable experience based on what your workflow, what works best for you and your team. So take a look at those settings and make sure you get them up to date so that your account is working with you and not against you. All right. Do we have any other questions? Let's see. When you're assigning box contents, show how you can choose a different box to add to when there's multiple. Sure. All right. So if you need to make it, again, if you need to make any changes to your box contents, we can do that here. So remember, the first way that we assigned box contents was by clicking the little drop down button. So if you need to change the box that you're assigning to, it's automatically going to default. Well, this one defaults because this is the one that we chose. But if you have some box contents unassigned, then it'll default to the last box that you created. So if you need to change this box, just click into this here and all of the available boxes will pop up in this drop down. Then you can choose the box and change it to assign. Oop, well, that was weird. Oh, it's because we're already in the box. That's why. So if you need to, let's see, we'll do this in real time. We'll remove this box. So now we've got 10 left to assign. So if we wanted to break up this 10 into a couple of different boxes, click the drop-down menu. It's automatically going to default to box 3, because that was the last one that we had created. But we want to make sure that we add some into box number 1. So I'm going to click box number 1, and we'll add 5 there. Now we have 5 left. So click here. We'll put 5 in box number 2. There you go. All right. Do we have any other questions? Okay, great. Well, that wraps it up. So if you joined us for part 1 of Batch Basics, we started from scratch. We created a new batch, reviewed all of our batch settings, added an item, added a couple of different purchases, and then this session we went through the process of creating our shipments and assigning our box contents, and addressed one of the most common errors, which again is that expiration date error. There may be times when you're listing and creating shipments in InventoryLab and you come across error messages. Don't panic. We have a great user guide full of lots of troubleshooting tips. They have a whole guide of all of the most common errors. And if you run into something that isn't in the user guide, you can always reach out to our support team if you have additional questions. We can walk you through just about anything. So don't be shy.
To join one of our live classes about Batch Basics, visit inventorylab.link/batchbasics. Once you're there, select the date and time that'll work for you, and you can follow along with one of our InventoryLab coaches while they demonstrate how to list in a private FBA batch, create shipments, add box contents, and much more. This is a start-to-finish class on creating your shipments and using our batch process, and there'll also be time for a Q&A.